This lesson is on the topic of diabetes. So our title today is diabetes, and by the end of the lesson we should be able to describe the cause of type 1 diabetes and how it affects blood glucose regulation. We should describe possible ways to treat type 1 diabetes. We should describe the cause of type 2 diabetes and how it affects blood glucose regulation, and we should describe possible ways to treat type 2 diabetes. So we should write our notes in the Cornell note-taking system with our objectives on the left, and in our notes on the right we should write our answers to those objectives. Then finally at the end of the lesson you'll summarize what you've learned in your own words. So type 1 diabetes is caused by a faulty pancreas. So you may be born with a faulty pancreas which either doesn't produce enough insulin or it can't detect when the blood glucose level is too high. This can also be caused by autoimmune diseases where the immune system attacks the pancreas, causing it to be damaged. So let's look at our blood glucose cycle. So homeostasis keeps blood glucose at the same level throughout the day. The pancreas detects if it's too low, causing it to release glucagon. The glucagon causes glucose to be made from proteins and fats. Glucagon causes the liver to convert glycogen back into glucose, which then causes the blood glucose level to get too high. The pancreas detects this, produces insulin. The insulin causes cells to take glucose out of the blood, and it also causes the liver to store glucose as glycogen, causing the blood glucose level to get too low. However, when somebody has type 1 diabetes, the pancreas cannot detect or does not produce insulin. In this case, that means that the pancreas doesn't work, leading to a glucose level which keeps getting higher and higher. That means the cycle is broken. If the blood glucose level gets too high, that can cause severe damage to the capillaries, causing eventual amputation and potentially death. To treat type 1 diabetes, we need to intervene at the points where the pancreas doesn't work. You may have seen people checking their own blood glucose level with a sensor and then injecting themselves with insulin. In that way, the insulin causes the cells to take glucose out of the blood and causes the liver to store glucose as glycogen, restoring that cycle. In the case of type 2 diabetes, since cells take in glucose in response to insulin, so when insulin arrives at the cells, it causes more glucose to be taken in the cells. With type 2 diabetes, a high sugar diet causes too much insulin to be made. The cells eventually become resistant to the insulin, so they stop responding and stop taking in the more glucose that they are supposed to. In this case, the cycle is broken at the point where the body responds to the insulin. The cells don't respond to the insulin, which causes the blood glucose level to keep getting higher. Again, this breaks the cycle, and if the blood glucose level becomes too high, it can lead to damage to capillaries, eventual amputation, and potentially death. In order to treat this, one way is to regulate your diet by eating less sugar. You should eat regular meals, high in complex carbohydrates, and you should not eat much sugar. Similarly, you can exercise to use up more glucose in respiration. So the treatments for type 2 diabetes are regular exercise and a healthy, balanced diet.